He want to teach this morning. And that's all right. He's all right. Monday will be almost the halfway point of the first month of this Gregorian calendar year. And I would like for us to go through this year together. I do not desire to bore anybody, but I hope that we are being watchful about our spending. And when we do spend, we're getting value. That's going to be so key in this year for us. And everything is not necessarily based on money and or finances, but this is going to be quite an interesting year for us all. I want to come to you this morning about prosperity, but not prosperity in the way that many of us are used to hearing about it and some of the stuff we've seen on what they call Christian television. Not that type of prosperity. 3 John 2-6. And it is as follows. It says, "Beloved," in fact, most of us know this one by heart. "Beloved, I wish above all things that ye may prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth. For I rejoiced greatly when the brethren came and testified of the truth that is in thee, even as thou walkest in the truth. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in truth. Beloved, thou dost faithfully whatsoever thou doest to the brethren and to the strangers, which have borne witness of thy charity before the church, whom if thou bring forward on their journey after a godly sort, thou shalt do well." And going back to 5, it says, "Beloved, thou dost faithfully whatsoever thou doest to the brethren and to the strangers." And then it goes to Galatians 6 and 10. And it basically is saying, if you have it, if it's within your power to do good, then do it. And that's a pretty tall task for modern day believers. In fact, I'll be honest, I've gotten to where that word modern is becoming an affront to me personally, because usually whenever you put that adjective modern in front of something, it's almost the exact opposite of what it was originally intended. So it's not a compliment if someone calls you a modern man or a modern woman. I know we take it as a compliment, but it's really not a compliment in terms of the things of the Most High. In society, with this modern philosophy, this modern way of living, anything goes. And we're becoming a nation, we're becoming creation, a wackadoodle creation. I mean, people are just, we're way off. We're way off. Way off. And we've got to get back. We've got to be more centered. In every facet of life, when you go to the extremes, that's when stuff gets really weird. And in times past, I talked to you about being balanced in life, being balanced about every facet of life, even being balanced when it comes to the things of the Most High. Now, I'm not sitting here telling you, hey, hey, it's Saturday or it's Sunday, you can forget the thing. No, I'm not saying that. You can forget the things of the Most High. I'm not saying that. However, modern believers tend to go to the extreme to our detriment sometimes, thinking that we're doing the will of the Most High. And we're causing problems for other people, and we're causing problems in our own lives. And when you're on the extreme, either way, that's where you fall tempted by adversarial thoughts, adversarial spirits, adversarial thinking, adversarial living, modern living. Modern. Modern. Black is white, up is down. Male is female, female is male. I'm not trying to get censored, but it's weird out there. It's weird. If we're not careful, bestiality is coming. And they'll say they got civil rights as well. I mean, how low do we have to go? Let me let you hear this in another translation. Dear friend, I am praying that everything prosper with you and that you be in good health, as I know you are prospering spiritually. For I was so happy when some brothers came and testified how faithful you are to the truth, as you continue living in the truth. Nothing gives me greater joy than hearing that my children are living in the truth. Dear friend, you are faithful in all the work you are doing for the brothers, even when they are strangers to you. They have testified to your love in front of the congregation. You will be doing well if you send them on their way in a manner worthy of, and they say God, but we like to say Yah. And that's where I want to kind of park for a few minutes. You see, this is a new year for many of us. And this is a year of contention already. I try to stay abreast by looking at a lot of, well, naturally, you know, I'm always looking at the economic stuff, but sometimes I turn to YouTube, not the YouTube that you got to pay for, the one with all the commercials. And you know, I'm seeing celebrities and stuff, you know, complaining and, you know, about, I guess, unfair treatment or different things. I see, you know, obviously, unfortunately, this being a political year, that stuff's going to be jumping off the page at you. And like I've said last year, and I'm going to say it now, please let us not, you know, if you vote, that's your business. How you vote, that's your business. If you don't vote, that's your business. Let's not bring that political strife in here. Please, let's not do that. We need to be together more this year, more than ever. I went to our final appeal yesterday at the Virginia Supreme Court, and both lawyers did well. Ours did well, but the 3 judges are going to render their decision, and I'm just glad that finally this thing will come to pass, because it's hard to plan when you don't know what's yours. And again, without being negative about the city or the people or anything else, all I want is what belongs to Emmanuel Worship Center to be with Emmanuel Worship Center. What belongs to the city of Petersburg belong to the city of Petersburg. That's all I ask, and I would like this thing to wrap up, and I've seen the Most High working. See, I'm sure for a lot of people, and I will do a Christian thing. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, because I'm going to say most people mean well. Most people mean well. But I'm sure for a lot of people, things have gone at a snail's pace, and they think, if it was me, I would do thus and such. Well, it's not you. And there's a reason it's not you. A lot of us always talk about, I'm waiting on God. I'm waiting on God. I'm waiting on God. And then we get impatient and we go out and we do something and we get 10 steps further behind because we became impatient. What does this have to do with prosperity? Everything. Everything. You know, saints, you know, sometimes it's good when obstacles get in your way, it's not always the enemy. Sometimes it's the Most High saying, slow your roll. Sometimes it's him saying, slow your roll. Oh, you won't slow your roll? Okay, then I'm going to do this. Anybody ever left for a meeting or left for work late And now you mad at everybody that's driving the speed limit. You darting in and out. You know, everything irritates you. Hurry up, hurry up. Make the light, make the light. You know, it's not everybody else's fault that I'm late, that I'm running behind. And so I catch myself, I'm like, what am I getting mad with them for? And so then you begin to realize, hey, ho. Saints, I'll just use myself because sometimes when you call people's names, some people take stuff personally. And I speak for myself. When I'm in this capacity, I'm not thinking about you personally, even if I use you. It's just an example. But be that as it may, when obstacles come one after another, and you're trying to do something good, don't always think, again, that it's the enemy coming after you. Oh, you know, I've heard a lot of Christian people say, oh, the devil fighting me so hard. And they're saying that because it's kind of been taught to us that way. The thing that we call the gospel, I'll just say this because I'm really not trying to start a fight. There is a difference in Torah. There is a difference in Yah's teachings and instructions and what we hear in a lot of churches on a regular basis. I'm not trying to start a fight, but I'm talking about living in truth. And if I ask you not to get in a fight about politics, we shouldn't even get in a fight concerning the scriptures. But we tend to. In fact, you know, somebody already might have an attitude this morning because they didn't like what I said. And I will say this, you're welcome to address me in the parking lot, you know, and I'm not challenging you to a fight. But I will say this, if you are male and you strike me, I will not turn the other cheek. Okay? And if you female and you strike me and I don't deem you to be a lady, I'm just joking now. I'm just joking. Men are not supposed to hit women. Men are not to hit women. Even modern women should not be struck. I got this, Dan. Living in truth. 2024 is going to be a good year for us. 2024 is going to be a good year for us. Now, some folks going to catch hell. That's not a bad word. But if we want prosperity, Yah's prosperity, we're going to have to live in truth. We're going to have to live in truth. See, a lot of us, a lot of people have not realized the things that they've been standing for all these years, because some of it is because he never promised you that. Some preacher promised you that. Some preacher came to town, got a whole bunch of folk coming in, and said some things, and it had you thinking, I knew it, I knew it. And I think about so many phases that have gone on in what we call Christendom that messed up a lot of folks' lives. Because some man said thus and such and got the flock to believing, all right, this must be from the very throne of heaven. And it was right out of their intellect, right out of whatever intent they had. The worst thing you can do, folks, is tell a fib on the Most High. See, a lot of times when people are manipulative, they like to use, particularly when they know that you're trying to live by truth. The Lord impressed upon me to, he can't impress upon me. He can only impress upon you. Are you saying, Barry, that doesn't happen? Yes, it happens. But I will share this with you, saints. If we are honest, most of what he's dealing with us about is us. Most of what he's dealing with us about is us. I marvel sometimes at how people are so quick to have all this insight. And often we have trouble putting one foot in front of the other. And yet we're willing to chart the course. This is where we should go. This is what we should do. Sit down, be quiet, get your life straight. Living in truth. Dear friend, I am praying that everything prosper with you and that you be in good health. I like to bring y'all, I like to bring y'all good stuff. And when I say good, it's usually sweet. And I know, I've watched all the documentaries. Sugar's not good for you. I know that. So what I'm going to do, because this is supposed to be a low-buy year for me, and I'm really trying to work on it. I'm really trying. But I went out and I got some Progresso. This is not a commercial for them. Some Progresso chicken, barley soup. Now, I know usually I bring in ice cream and cookies and cakes, but I slightly got convicted. Now I bought that stuff for me, but I said, no, you can't take that down there all the time for them. You know, take them some soup. And I got some instant oatmeal, but now I found out some of the grandkids don't eat the instant kind. They probably like this kind like we grew up with, that you gotta boil it in that pot and make that. But I got some of that instant stuff. Now I eat the instant because it's quick, and a lot of times I gotta get out the house in a hurry. so that I won't be getting mad, getting late to my project. But, you know, because I'm so driven this year that we're gonna live this year together. And what I mean when I say together, that means I'm not going to be asking you what you wrote in your book, but I am going to be asking you, are you writing anything in the little books? And some of you I know that didn't get a book, I think if you go on your computer, you know, they got a budget column or something. I mean, you can make something elaborate. And I know, you know, for some of them say, well, look, this writing in the book, this is getting old. Look, here's an easier way to do it. Keep your receipts, even when you get gas, and just get an envelope and put them in the envelope. And at the end of the week, put them all down. And I think you're going to be surprised about your spending. I've had several people come up to me because they started last year. And they say, hey, you know, I didn't realize I was doing this and that. And that just blesses me. You know, and I'm not trying to get you to do this because I'm doing this. I'm telling you, folks, we're going to have to be more financially mindful this year and possibly next year. Because I know, you know, when you turn on the regular TV, they tell you we're out of the woods, we're going to get down to 2%. They may not ever get down to 2%, but they might get at 3%. I know many of you have heard rate cuts going to start. The first one going to start in March, which is a magnificent month. Great people were born in March. But, folks, it may not go that way. We're at a time, I've told you before, it's so many people trying to tell us, listen to me, I got the answers, I know the way. Phooey on them. Phooey, phooey, phooey. Even the financially astute, they're guessing. One day they praising Jerome Powell, the next day they cursing him. The guy can't win. And I'm not an advocate one way or the other. He's got a job to do. Living in truth. For I was so happy when some brothers came and testified how faithful you are to the truth. You know, and with the way things are nowadays, I mean, it's almost like people are trying to do the most outrageous thing to try to provoke you to say something. Or try to provoke you to get in an argument or, you know, well, what do you think about what he said? Well, why do you care what I think about what he said? Why don't you go ask him what he said? Don't let people set you up. Don't let people set you up. Please, please don't take your eye off your wallet this year. I'm not talking about worshiping money. I'm talking about having the necessary funds that when things open up for you, you can move, you can act, you can buy, you might have to sell. But if you're just, listen, homeowners like cars are maintenance situations waiting to happen. One day, you're going to need some new tires. One day, you're going to have to change the oil. One day, your transmission might go out. I hope it don't. Now's not exactly a good time to have to buy an automobile. Home, same thing. Listen, I'm getting more and more information. The crowd that says, no, you should rent, some millionaires do not own a home. And the reasons that they're giving, I used to be, the way I was brought up was, well, I remember, and Danny can attest to this, Pop used to tell us, none of y'all bet not bring a new car in this house. Now, we was working. We weren't working for him, but he said, no, don't buy a new car. He used to say to us, he said, well, listen, you want to do something? Right? He said, son, if you get a house, you can drive any kind of car you want. And a lot of our friends had some nice new cars, and that new car smell. And true to his word, he never bought new. He never bought new. And that thing was kind of hard for us, because, with a lot of your partners, they got them nice rides, man. I know it was hard on me. But, Pastor was, man, that guy was a genius about finances. And he had to be, because, see, at an early age, he got himself in a situation. So that joker raised 2 families. Well, I understand that when they first started out, my parents, they started out with them giving the testimony. And I know that thing stung him when they stood up there and told how things went. But I say this because I also remember when he called us, the 4 boys together, and he said to us, boys, and I'm still talking about living in truth. He said, boys, you mess around and you get a girl in trouble, you're going to have to quit school. Now, Arthur and I, I'll speak for myself. I've told y'all I was not a Boy Scout. But Ronnie and Danny stayed straight-faced. Me and Arthur, we was kind of laughing because we thought it was funny until I got to thinking about that. I said, wait a minute, I like to go to school. But I didn't like to go to school for the courses. I like to go to school because them little cute girls was in there. And the girls were cute, so I studied because I didn't want to look dumb in front of the girls. So again, I'm out here again, living in truth. Got in a fight at the bus stop. Guy played, he was first string running back and he was excellent. I'm not even going to call his name. But I got in a fight with him at the bus stop. And we got in a fight. This was crazy. We got in a fight because he was talking bad about my favorite basketball player. And then he did the unthinkable. He backhanded me. And there were young girls out there. The girls was out there. So you know what happened? We got to scuffling. Because again, Barry liked the girls. You don't do that. You don't do that. And then when we got to Brooklyn, I got off the bus before him and was ready to take it up again. And he just said, go ahead, Green. But he knew. Years later, we both grown. And we didn't remain enemies. I mean, back then you fought and it pretty much was over. Yeah, well, I know. Again, I'm telling them this. But again, I'm still talking about living truth. Years later, I had moved back from Texas. Doorbell rang. I was living at my parents' house because I came back. I had everything I owned. I put that in storage. I had $1,300 left to my name. Got an infected tonsil. Had to spend one night in the hospital. Not even a private room. The bill was $1,300. So y'all, I mean, he not only broke me down, he broke me broke. Be that as it may, still talking about living in truth. Doorbell rings. I answer the door. It's that guy. And I had a flashback. Because we played on the same football team and it wasn't but 4 of us on the team and the rest was other people. And I learned then, they just as good an athlete as we are. And I like that because it forced me to have to realize I can work with anybody. See, I can work with anybody. And I'm not saying, you can too if you want to. See, a lot of us, we get divided just because somebody look different. But it was this gentleman, he was at the door. I was like, yeah, hey, how you doing? And he said, well, yeah, man, I heard you were back in town. And I was like, but we never hung out anyway. Okay? We didn't hang out. This guy he was an excellent football player. Very good football player. I mean, when we played Highland Springs, they always used to have them good teams. But he came and he said, look, I heard you move back. And I was like, huh? This was confusing me because, like I said, we weren't enemies. We weren't mortal enemies. Yeah, we got in a scuffle. We got in a fight. But we just didn't hang out. I mean, and he lived around the corner from me, well, from my parents, We all lived in Randolph Ridge. And I was shocked. But when I opened that door and I saw him, I was like, oh my goodness, did he come back? He want to finish it? We both grown men. So I didn't know if he was coming as a friend or foe or whatever. But he came in and we sat down and we talked. And I was like, oh my gosh. But I didn't get to know him like that coming up. And we were on the same team, and there weren't but 4 of us that looked alike on the team. And he did his job, I did mine. I remember one time he had got nicked up, and the coach was saying, well, if you don't want practice, we're gonna start green. I'm gonna tell y'all something. My knees was knocking. I didn't want to start. I just wanted to prove to everybody I could make the team. Because I was about the smallest thing on there. But they were just telling him that. I thank God they put. But I got to play in every game. But by the time I got in there, we was already beating somebody, 30-0. So I got to play, I got my letter and all of that, And again, at the award assembly, they called my name. I got to go up there, get my letter, put on my jacket, But while we were sitting there talking, I didn't bring it up, he didn't bring it up. But, life had happened, he had moved on. He wasn't living out there anymore, but living in truth. But see, the thing is, while we never said to each other, hey man, I'm sorry, hey man, I'm sorry. Back then, some guys would do that, but some guys, they just, you fight and it's over. He go his way, you go your way. The thing about men that I appreciate about most men, even men that don't get along, this is what I like about men. And there's a lot I like about women, because I can hear somebody now. No, ain't no gut punch coming. But when men don't get along, they give each other space. They give each other space. Masculine men, effeminate men, they get an attitude. They do little funny stuff, and I tell you, I can't stand that. Particularly if he got a family. I'm like, oh my God, what kind of, and God, no, don't let him have a son, because if he put that stuff in his son, somebody's daughter gonna have a problem. See, guys, this thing, in living in truth, you gotta live in truth to what you are. All this stuff about flipping and wanting to be this and be that, that is not living in truth. And 2024 gonna be a tough year if you don't live in truth in every aspect. I'm not saying we won't make mistakes, but we'll make a lot less, because even in living in truth, you get a hold of your emotions. And you stop letting your emotions dictate the type of decisions you make. Every one of us in here have made a poor decision because we were either upset or mad or deliriously happy. Emotions aren't bad, but the emotions that you allow to rule you, they're horrible. They will deceive you. See, nobody's happy all the time. Nobody should be sad all the time. They're fleeting. And that's a good thing. For I was so happy when some brothers came and testified how faithful you are to the truth as you continue living in the truth. Nothing gives me greater joy than hearing that my children are living in the truth. You've heard me say time and time and time again, the best thing about having a relationship with the Most High is He loves us in spite of us. But He's constantly working with us. But how much of it are we hearing about us? Why do we keep pushing this stuff in our lives that we know is not good for us, but we just don't want to, I don't want to deal with that right now? And he said, well, Barry, that was 50 years ago. When are you going to deal with it? When are you going to look at things for what they are, not how you imagine them to be? And Saints, I'm going to say this, and some people may not agree. It's going to be hard for you to be honest with the Most High if you can't be honest with yourself about yourself. A lot of us are lying to ourselves. Stop that. You're short-circuiting your success in life. And again, when I use the term success, I'm not just talking about accumulating stuff. Living in the truth. No, you made a bad decision. I know that, yeah, don't continue to beat yourself up. But for God's sake, don't make the same mistake again. Learn from it. Yeah, you need to, we need to spend some time hitting ourselves to some degree, not too hard. See, a lot of times we excuse. This is what's so crucial. We are hard on other folk. But we got all kind of, well, see, this happening. Well, I wouldn't have done that if this. And I wouldn't have done that if that. Hey, man, just get you a nice mirror, shine that thing up, and look at that person, and the person that's looking back at you and say, you are my biggest problem. Not my siblings, not my folks, not my grandparents. I am my biggest problem. Not the devil. Come to a truth about yourself and the things that the Most High has been kind of nudging you about. Give heed to it. Give some time to it. Stop brushing it off. Stop busying yourself with things that you think you're good at. Because a lot of us do that too. We want to stay in the stuff we think we're good at. Well, that's you thinking you're good at it. You might not be that good. Dear friend, you are faithful in all the work you're doing for the brothers, even when they are strangers to you. You know, and they talked about Galatians. And it basically, again, is saying, hey, if you come upon a situation and you can do good, the Most High says do good. He didn't say, now, wait a minute, hold it. I got a problem with Donnie. He said something about the shoes I was wearing last week. I didn't appreciate that. I'm not going to help him. That's not how he said that. He didn't ask me to take an assessment of whether I like the person or not. Don't raise your hands. Have any of you ever had a situation where somebody you might have had words with and you might have had a disagreement with, you might have had an argument with? And lo and behold, something happens, and either they need you or you need them. Can you imagine how uncomfortable it would be for either one of you to approach one another? It might be uncomfortable, but depending on how tragic or dangerous the situation could be, you might be surprised. You all could come together quickly. I've changed tires for people that didn't see me as a man. And at the time, I was really staunch into Christianity. I'm going to close with this, but I'm going to pick it up the next time I have the pleasure of coming before you. This was back in my professional days when I got paid a lot of money to wear nice clothes and sign my name, and I thought I was a big shot. And the company I was working for, they had a file room, and I was an underwriter, commercial property underwriter. And if you needed a file, you would get one of the file people to go get the file for you. You write it down, and they go pull it. And I think sometimes the people that worked in the file room, I think they felt unappreciated because people got a habit of, you get on the phone, well, I need this, 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 and this. You can say thank you, or would you please, or get somebody to get it. Well, long story short, one of the underwriting assistants got belligerent with one of the young ladies in the file room, and she used some street language in the office. And several of the file, we called them file clerks back then, they heard it. And I mean, a race war almost broke out. And the branch manager, first they took it to the department. The department head, he really didn't want to touch it. He was uncomfortable. Everybody was uncomfortable, but those girls knew what they heard. They had no reason to lie on this particular person. And they had some run-ins. Texas has its own, let me say this, I have not always been in love with the state of Virginia. I wanted to get out of Virginia so bad. It has its own set of problems, but I'm here to tell you, every state got problems. Every state in the union got problems, people problems. But get back to the story. So the lady that did say it, of course she denied it, denied. And management knew if they did nothing, that was going to make it even worse. But then if they, I guess, admonished this lady, what's going to happen? Well, long story short, nothing happened. They just all kind of died down and went back to work. Well, we were leaving work that day, and I'm coming out, and I see 4 minutes. And I'm coming out, I got my outfit on, for the day. And I had a nice new silk towel. And I thought I was kicking it. And who do I see standing up beside an old jalopy? It was a good work car probably, but that person had a flat tire. I'm coming out with the other underwriters. And it was a mixed group of us. As the Bible says, a mixed multitude of underwriters walking out. And all of the underwriters walked right past her. Didn't even look her way. Some of them looked like me, and some of them looked like her. But all the fellas walked right by. And the guy that was in the IEA department, loss control department, Smokey, he was one of my fraternity brothers. I walked out with the guys, got to my car, and I'm telling you, as sure as I'm talking to you, Yah said to me, what if that was your sister? I'm telling you, the answer, and I got angry. I said, wait, hold it. You know what went on. This is what I'm saying. So I shut my door and walked back over there. I changed that heifer's tire. Heifer's not a bad word. I changed her tire, and the tire that I changed, some oil or the grease got on my tire. Did she thank me? No. And now, mind you, the guys, they were going to her car. They didn't like, even her own people didn't like her. And Smokey called me when I got home, and he said, B, I knew you was going to change her tire. I was so mad. And see, and now mind you, then I said, Lord have mercy. Them sisters gonna kill me tomorrow. Because I know what that looked like to them. But that's not what I had in my heart. I moved because y'all said move. But I didn't get into all of that with them. But what I tried to do, in living in truth, I always tried to be respectful to everybody. Good morning. You know, I speak to everybody. Some people come in the office, they got certain people they speak to. They got, depending on what you do, oh, I don't greet them. They're the service people. You know, sometimes executives are so pompous. That's a whole nother teaching, but I think the only thing that saved me was the sisters knew I would speak in the morning. If I could do anything for them, get them some coffee or something, I'm going to do that because I need you. When I call for some files, I need to have those files because those files represent a lot of money. But the long and short of it, you know, not one of them, if they had a problem with me doing it, they didn't say. They spoke the next day, and I think their attitude was they used a word that start with a B. She said it, but they realized management ain't gonna do nothing about it, so they just said, just squash it. I was glad because really that thing went through the whole company knew what had happened. And I said, Father, you know, why do you put me in these kind of predicaments? I mean, because, you know, sometimes, and this is stuff that we do. And folks, be true to who you are, regardless of where you work and who you work with. Because, see, in that story, it was a lot of dynamics going on. Because sometimes we tend to put pressure on one another. If somebody's trying to aspire on their job, stop saying, oh, they eating cheese. No, they're trying to feed their family. If you got to work, you might as well go for the most bananas you can get. If you're going to be stressed out, you get stressed out over 100,000 rather than 10,000. But, you know, I shared that because in living in truth, sometimes you're going to be put in a situation, I see it, Reg. You're going to be put in a situation that to others Is he with us or he against us? And see, the person that would ask that question, I would ask of them, where's your heart? Where's your heart in the matter? How all of a sudden now are you questioning this person and you've known them for years? How about maybe they were directed to do what they're doing? I'm saying that because, folks, layoffs are coming. Layoffs are coming. And in this year, to prosper, you've got to live in truth. You got, and let me say this, live in Yah's truth. Because now the new modern thing to say is, I'm living it, I'm telling my truth. Where our truth is the same as our righteousness. And you know what he said about our righteousness, filthy rags. And for those of you, I'm not going to get crude, but it's, look that up, what he's really saying about it. It's pretty rank. I'm going to close, Reg. I know, don't throw nothing at me. We can prosper this year. Regardless of how the Supreme Court ruled, we can still prosper because we still have options. That's another word you hear men and ladies say. I ain't got to stay with you. I got options. Sometimes the options we think we got, we don't got. But I'm telling you, Emmanuel Worship Center still has options. God bless you.